I have been tagged by Nate at WASD20 for 5 RPG facts that you may not know about me. Thanks for tagging me, Nate. Love your channel. Love what you're doing. If you haven't subscribed to Nate's channel, he's in the links below. And I'm going to tag 5 more people. I don't know if they've been tagged or not, but either way, tag, you're it. Their channels are also linked below. If you haven't subscribed, you really should. So I'm going to put their links in the show notes. I am going to tag DM Scotty from the DM's Craft. I am going to tag DM Gareth at the DMG Info. I'm going to tag Arthur Hannon, the Easy Painter over in the UK. I'm going to tag Jake at Mini Terrain Domain, and I'm going to tag Captain Courageous, and he does some great old school tutorials, and I don't know if tutorials is the right word, really like a walkthrough of all of the great RPG history, and it's really a awesome gem in the RPG scene on YouTube. I hope you'll check his channel out. Okay, here we go. 5 facts. Number 1, RPGs and the D&D related stuff has really sunk into all aspects of my life in terms of there's a ripple effect where there's the game piece of it, yes, then there's the terrain piece of it, which I like to do also, but then there's the inspiration and the things that around you start to see things in your everyday life that feed into this hobby. You go to the store and you're seeing materials for office supplies for your GM binder, you're seeing craft supplies for your terrain, or you're listening to news stories, or you're seeing books that will inspire your next campaign. Out of this rule set here, there's a section called Inspirational Source Material, and right now my new thing is I'm listening to lots of audiobooks that are recommended, classic fantasy audiobooks, and I've been collecting the recommended nonfiction literature that informs mythology, that informs our folklore and how we tell stories, and it's been a lot of fun. Has nothing to do with the campaign in terms of it doesn't have a TSR logo on it, but it absolutely informs your imagination, and that's one of the most fun things for me is having a hobby that really you can have all sorts of things that inspire it as you just go around living your life. Second, first RPG I ever kind of was exposed to or played would be the Star Wars West End Games D6 system, because I saw it advertised in the back of, I want to say, the Timothy Zahn novels. I point because I have them back there. Of Heir to the Empire and some of those other Bantam books had ads for it, and then ordered some by mail. Yes, by mail, because we didn't have internet back in those days, and was reading about these different statistics and ability scores and what they meant, and that was really my first exposure to a pen and paper RPG. Fact number 3, first RPG in terms of video games would be Final Fantasy VII. I like to say that I failed algebra in the 8th grade because I spent so much time playing Final Fantasy VII and not enough time doing my math homework after school every day. Loved that game. Hundreds of hours in a couple different saved games. You remember the save slots on the PlayStation? Wasn't that a lot of fun? Number 4, I cashed in, when I was getting back into the hobby, I cashed in my 3.0 and 4th edition, all my D&D stuff to start collecting and getting into old school, 1st edition and basic. And I have come a little bit around the other way, where I do have the basic rules for 5e, I do have the freebie Game Master rules, and I do have, finally broke down and bought it, the starter set, because did you know if you go to Target and you say, hey, Amazon price is this, they'll match the price? How awesome is that? So I got that for like $11-12 at my local Target. So I do have a minimal amount of 5e, mostly because I want to be involved in some one-shots, but I cashed it all in because don't have enough time in this video to tell it, but as I got more into the history of RPGs, I thought I really want to be in on what's happening with the OSR, old school Renaissance, old school revival. I still have my Pathfinder stuff. I still play in a Pathfinder campaign, but the rest of it, I cashed it in. The 3.0, I had some 2nd edition stuff, and I had some 4th edition. It's all gone, and I'm all old school except for a couple freebie things for 5th edition. Let's see. 5th and most personal fact for me. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and in the circles socially I was in, this was part of what would be known as the Satanic Panic, and D&D was a big no-no, because we all know that it is a gateway drug to the occult and occult activities. Now, I've met many D&D players at this stage. I have yet to meet one who's actually successfully used a spell from these books, probably because they don't work. It's imaginary. So the irony in this whole thing is a game that was a forbidden thing growing up. I was at church a few years ago, and someone came to me and said, hey, someone said they wanted to start a Bible study for nerds. I thought, well, okay, I would definitely fit the nerd category, and sure, I'll do a Bible study. So I talked to this gentleman, Luke. We never cracked open a Bible, but what we did do is we cracked open some Pathfinder core rule books. We had a great campaign that lasted for about 2 or 3 years, and he's moved. We still play online. I'm in an online campaign that he GMs with Gareth, DMG Info, Scotty, his wife, and some other friends, and we're having a fabulous time. Full circle. Really weird that this game that was not supposed to be played, I've come full circle, and it's one of my favorite hobbies. And I have other Christian friends, Derek White, the geek preacher, all sorts of other great people that have really enriched my life, both hobby and spiritual wise. So it's really a weird world that we live in, but it's pretty awesome when the story comes full circle. That's my 5 RPG facts. I hope you found them interesting. Comment below, subscribe if you haven't, and peace out.